years ago, when Pastor Ned and I first got married, we were going to a church out in the Bronx. I was loyal, man. I loved the pastors, and I was faithful to a man. I really was. I was faithful. I was loyal to a man. Problem is that eventually that led me wrong. Because you see, there came a time where we discerned that it was time to move, and God was leading us up here, and we put on contract a home in New Windsor. We put a down payment. We went into contract. We decided we were going to move, and I was so loyal that I told my wife, we're going to commute every Sunday 65 miles to go to church. I believed that with all my heart. I was convinced this is what we're doing, because this is where the man of God is. This is what God's called us to. When we told them where the Lord was leading us, they didn't like it. It got real awkward real quick. And then one day, before we left the church, a pastor that was a friend, a good friend of our pastor, came to speak at the church, and this was one of these super spiritual guys. It was one of those guys, right? So they had come back to the church. I was locking up. They had come back to get something. And as they're walking out, he turns to me and he gets super spiritual. And he says to me, son, thus saith the Lord, if you leave the side of this man in this church, it will be for the destruction of you and your family. And because I was still in process, and I still am in process, let me tell you what that did for me. I went home and I told my wife, I don't care what the contract says. I don't care how much money we lose. We're not leaving. We're staying in this little cramped 3-bedroom apartment until Jesus returns, because the man of God said. My wife was in tears and I was perplexed. But then something went off inside of me. I'm not going to say that I've arrived. I still haven't. But something went off inside of me that beckoned me to go to the scriptures. And as I searched the scriptures, I could not find that in God's word. I could not find an example of that in God's word. I had no biblical context for it. And then I went and I spoke to some people that I knew wouldn't speak to me for God. And I realized that what I was experiencing was not a word from God. It was deception.